with his sweet smile and manners. Manas has done intermediate from St. Mary's, Hyderabad with MES and joined SP Jain School of Global Management at Dubai campus at the age of 17 years. Being the only child, I know how difficult it was for his parents to send him so far. After studies, he started work at Sydney in AMP Capital Investment Management Company as a remediation support officer. Though working full-time, he still finds time for service and hobbies. He turned his passion for cooking into service. He cooks meals in the weekends for the homeless in Sydney, and he also takes free tuitions for the poor people there. That is very noble at such an young age, Manas. And as you told me, it is your mother's guidance which led to such service activities. Today, Manas is going to share his views on emotional intelligence. The capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions as well as manage them is emotional intelligence. That is the most important job skills in today's scenario. Give it up for Manas. Welcome, Manas. Welcome to the session.
Thank you so much, Manas.
Yeah.
It was such a wonderful introduction.
Very humble of you. Yeah, please carry on.
Yeah. Okay, so hi guys. As you said, as you all know, I'm Manas. First of all, I just want to lay some ground rules for you all. Trust me, I'm not like a lecturer or something. I'm one of you. So I'm trying to make this session as interactive, as simple for you all to understand as I could. So just please bear with me for this. And okay, so initially when we started talking about giving this lecture, I came up with an idea of making a PowerPoint presentation where we used to go, like a pointer as to how do we speak on it or not. But later on, I realized it's going to be very boring and, it's just going to be so professional that most of you are going to take your mind off it. And that is why I decided to make a small video of my journey from, being a kid like you guys are right now at Bloomberg High to where I am today. So, the video is going to play in the background and I'm going to speak about my journey throughout. Once the video is done, I'm going to talk about what is emotional intelligence, how I have used it in my personal life for my growth, like its implications in today's job market, in today's dynamic world, and then few tips as to how one can be very emotionally intelligent or not. So, let's begin with it. Give me a second. I'm just sharing my screen. Okay. So to begin with, I'm not going to give a brief description of my photos or anything, but this one photo is so special to my heart. And I'm not sure most of you guys know about her or not. So the lady sitting in the middle of everyone is Kusuma ma'am. She essentially is the founder of BBHS High. And she's one of the biggest reasons why I joined Bloomberg High. She's probably one of the few persons whom I knew sort of had the skills of empathy or emotional intelligence in her. So this is sort of a bit remembrance to her before I just want to start my lecture on this. So yeah. So this is how it goes. So like most of you guys, I was born in Nizamabad. I was brought up in Nizamabad, and my entire life revolved around Nizamabad. So what happened was I'm a lead born to my parents. So I was always that guy who was very affectionate to my family. I was always in my own comfort zones, my bubble. You'll not believe me. When I was sitting there at your age, I wouldn't have talked to anyone. I was so shy. I was a crybaby. Most of the teachers might know about me at that point of time, where I used to cry for everything. Every day before exam, I used to be down with fever of over like 100 degrees or something. And that essentially what I was when I was a kid. Growing up was not very difficult for me. It was sort of easy because I was very easygoing, and that's how my school life went. What happened in my school life that truly changed my perspective about life and world was one of the lecture when I was in grade 9 or something. I'm not sure most of you know Srinivas sir or not. So he used to teach me science when I was in 9th or 10th. And so day one, I was so furious at him because he used to be very strict, very methodical with his approach when it comes to studying. Like he wouldn't have agreed to anything less than like 90 marks or 95 marks. He was very methodical in that way. So what happened once was I was so furious at him and I was like, sir, this is not happening. Like I can't cope up with this. So and he came up to me and he said, okay, man, I totally understand it's not gonna happen, but I mean, I'm not doing this for my own sake. I mean, you guys perceive me as someone as who's very strict or who's methodical. But when you look back to these days, like 5 years down the line or 6 years down the line, you're gonna thank me for the person I am right now. I mean, that literally touched my heart to some another level, and that's how I started taking. I started taking things. I took things seriously in my life when it went ahead, and so that's how it. I mean, my journey started of getting from a very bubbly child to someone who is very serious in life, and how is he going to approach his life forward on. And there was another lecture once, like most of the guest lectures which happened at my time. Prasanna ma'am was one who used to take few of the guest lectures when I was studying there. And she had one topic where she spoke about peer pressure. Very overwhelming. As a kid, I had no idea what peer pressure was. And like most of you guys, I'm not sure whether you're gonna actually like research about what I spoke today. I never did that. And I so regret that decision of not researching as to what she said, because this is something which all of us, not just you guys who are now 9th or 10th, like even individuals, even adults who've grown up now, face this to a very high level. And so out of peer pressure, this happened when I was in 10th grade. It was a life-changing moment for me, to be very honest. So it's like a thing in Islamabad. I'm not sure whether you guys will agree or not, but this is what happened to my batch. When we started our journey, 95% of my batch mates took science or biology as the mainstream, whereas commerce was like, I don't remember anyone taking commerce. Like it was just 2 or 3 of us. And I was so tense back then. So I made up my mind. I didn't want to go out of my comfort zones. I didn't want to leave my family. I didn't want to leave my friends after all. Because, I mean, they're your first friends and you wouldn't want to leave them, right? And that's how I'm like, okay, one night I decided, no, I'm going to take science despite I was like genuinely bad at science. I'm like, okay, mom, dad, I'm going to pursue science. I'm going to go to Narayana Chaitanya with all my friends and everything. That's how it started. Everything went on to this place. And then I realized, wait, I'm genuinely not interested in science. Why am I taking this decision? And that's when I mean, the concept of peer pressure came into my mind. I Googled about it. So this is when my dad came up and was like, hey Manas, are you sure you want to take this as a subject? Because I'm pretty sure you don't want to, but it's just because of everyone's taking, you don't have to be the part of the herd, right? It's your own individual belief and your own individual one who's going to stand out amongst the room of various other people. And that's when I realized, okay, this is a novel thing. Why not let's research about it? Why not let's just think about it? I genuinely want to take science. And this is where was my first step again to just go out of my comfort zone, go out of the bubble I was living in, and move to Hyderabad to study in this college called St. Mary's Junior College. Guys, this was the time which was very crucial in my life. I had to leave my family, my friends, my comfort zones, and being a crybaby, which I was, I had no idea how I'm going to deal with the pressure I was going to face. Because imagine sitting in a room with like hundreds of other people who have no idea of what's your hometown, which school you came from, right? And worst part, I knew none of them there. And that was so daunting at first. And then, I mean, all I did was cry. Like, honestly, everything happened to me, I used to cry, right? That was someone, like, that was Manas initially, essentially. And then I realized one thing, because this is what I chose. My parents didn't force me into this. And if I quit this thing right now, not even giving it a shot, I mean, my life, the trajectory of my life would have been completely different from what it was today, right? So I cried the whole night because this is what I always remember. You just cry it out. The next day you won't cry for the same reason. It makes you the stronger person. When people say, oh, people don't cry, men don't cry, I genuinely don't believe in all of this because it's very good to express your emotions. And that's how my first day at St. Mary's started. It was, first day was daunting essentially. Ignore the photos, they're too old and I'm too ashamed of it as well. So, it was daunting at first. But on the other hand, it's just that one step, that constant dedication and perseverance as to, I took accountability on the step I took. I wanted to make sure my parents wouldn't get any harm out of it and just wanted to be very sure that, oh, this is what I've chosen. I have to take this forward ahead. Cut to 2 years down the line in Hyderabad. the best part, when I left the school, most of the management cried because that's how impactful it was. And I'm still in touch with the principals, the professors out there. And I mean, I don't even have a single chance of going back to the college, to the St. Mary's. So that's how it's important to, just step out of your comfort zones. We as a kid, we don't want to. Trust me, I didn't want to as well. But that one step, your career, the trajectory of your entire career is gonna change. And this is when I took another bold decision, SP Jain School of Global Management. As a kid, again, I was so smart. I mean, I was so dumb, I would say. Oh, I saw this university. Oh, the courses are good. So this is going to take me to different countries. So I'm like, oh, this is very appealing. Let me give a chance. Why not just give an entrance exam of it? Day one, I gave an entrance exam. I had an interview. Everything got sorted. In a month or so, I got an answer that, oh, you got qualified for this and you're more than happy to join if you accept the offer letter. Till then, I had no idea that I had to leave my own country. And I was like, okay, that's all right. I mean, it was interesting. It was daunting at first. But I still remember day one, when I left Hyderabad airport, the moment the flight took off, I was full of tears. I haven't cried in like 2 years ever since I left Nizamabad. And that was the day one where I cried again. Because it's something, I mean, the thought of leaving everything behind, from your family, from your own country as well, it's very daunting initially. But again, perseverance, dedication. I started reading books. The entire flight, it was 1.5 hour flight or something to Bombay initially. The entire flight, I was listening to all those motivational videos like, no, you have to be dedicated in your approach or not. And this is how my journey to SP Zen started. This is where I've learned a lot of things. Not just so. This is where I faced the real cultural shock because people were so open-minded. People knew so much more than what I knew at that point of time. And day one, I was so shocked. Oh my God! Oh, this concept also exists in Word. I had no idea. So I used to make notes of everything. I used to go back to my room and then Google everything. Like, oh, this is it. So when tomorrow if someone talks about this, I wouldn't be left out, right? I mean, I was not confident in my approach. That's one thing which I learned in Bombay. What happened in Bombay, day one, I still remember I was sitting lonely on the other station because my laptop broke, crushed into pieces when I was trying to board the local train for the first time. I had no idea. I had no guts to talk to my parents about it because, a 30,000-40,000 rupee thing just broke into pieces for no reason, right? And then I realized, wait, what am I not doing to fit in with the population of Bombay or students in my own class? That's when I realized the importance of taking a step back, understanding what's going wrong with you, trying to be aware of what you're doing, being self-aware of your approach in general is what gonna help you. I still remember, okay, so I started looking around the entire station and I noticed one thing. So the backpack you have, people in Bombay don't wear it on your back. They wear it on your chest so that all your belongings are safe and nothing happens if someone's going to push you from behind or anything. That's one thing I learned. It was probably a very basic thing for you guys, but that's where I started to realize, oh, one step taking behind is going to change the way you think, right? It's going to make you more self-aware. And that's how my journey to Bombay, this is the key thing which I've learned in Bombay, because living in Bombay was too difficult for a student like me. But noticing little things, just taking a step back to understand what's happening around you, being more self-aware is what I've learned in Bombay. Cut to Dubai again. The worst part which I had in my life was by the time I've gotten comfortable with the city, with the place, with people around me, I had to leave and go to some another country, a whole new ball game. Everything was different, like cultural wise, like people wise, everything was quite different for me back then. And then day one in in Dubai. I mean, that like most of us celebrate the concept of day one, like first birthday, first anniversary, first day of school, right? I was in the mindset like, oh, this is my first international trip alone. I'll have to celebrate day one in Dubai. And I was so excited. Day one, I'm going to go to Burj Khalifa no matter what. I had no idea where Burj Khalifa was. I had no idea what cultural problems I'm going to face until I landed in Dubai. So as soon as I landed in Dubai, they had some issues with my passport. I quite don't remember the exact thing, but an immigration officer walked up to me and was like, hey Manas, we need to step aside and talk about some of the details you have. The thing is, so what happens when you're in Middle Eastern region, people really don't have the concept of personal bubble. Like what in India, we usually tend to stand like a meter away from each other when we speak, right? But in Middle East, it's not the case. They literally stand up to your nose and speak. I got so intimidated. Imagine a tall 6 foot guy coming up to your face and talking, "Hey, there's some issue with your passport." I was so intimidated. I took a step back. Casually while walking, he took another step ahead of me, stood in front of my nose. I got so intimidated. I'm like, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I'm not comfortable with you coming very close to me." That's the thing which I said. And that's it. He took my passport, put it aside. He's like, "Okay, I'm going to come back in a minute." He never showed up. Then an Indian guy walked up to me. He's like, "You know what, Manas, you did the most inappropriate cultural thing as soon as you landed in Dubai, because it's something which they take it to their heart, because they don't know what personal bubble is. If they're coming close to you, that means they like you, and you don't have to disrespect them. That's not what they meant actually." And that was the biggest blunder I made in my first international trip. It blew my mind off, and I got so furious at myself. I knew I was going to go to Dubai like a year ago as well, but why haven't I researched about it? Why haven't I at least thought about the concept of, are there going to be any cultural differences? And that's it. That's when I decided, okay, I'm going to go back home, study on what aspects of social awareness are important. Why understanding different cultures, not just different cultures, different religions are so important. And that's how my journey in Dubai began. I'm like, Dubai was such a multicultural experience. I've experienced so many things in Dubai, which completely changed my perspective of things which we usually don't look for. And this is my family in Dubai. This were my friends whom I used to live with in Dubai. And so this is how crucial my journey in Dubai was. Day one, as I said, I wanted to go to Burj Khalifa. I didn't go day one, but eventually I made it to the top. And that's how it was. Cut three, I had, like, by the time I've gotten comfortable with Dubai, third place was Sydney. Complete different ball game from a very formal sort of an environment professionally and work wise in Dubai. I came up to an environment which is very casual, very friendly. People are very open when they talk to you. Cultural change, but I was aware of, knowing all the cultural differences. I made a note of everything. Oh, this is going to happen in Australia. I have to react in this way. That's how my entire journey started in Australia. 2 years ago, I came here as a kid. I had no idea what to do in my life. It was completely different from what I wanted, what I expected out of Australia. But trust me, it was one good experience. And so the thing I learned in Australia is, we Indians, we tend to have this habit of saying sorry too much, or apologizing too much, or just thanking you too much to everyone, right? It's actually culturally inappropriate in Australia if you say sorry too much. Like they perceive you as someone who's not very self-aware of themselves and who's not very confident. So when it comes to getting a job or getting into any universities out in Australia or New Zealand region, that's a big no. So that's one key thing which I've learned from my journey in Australia. And here are the few snapshots of like my time in Sydney, my time in Australia. Now, so this was pretty much it, my journey from a crybaby to the person I am. I I mean, I don't want to take it up to my head, but I've seen myself evolve over anyone else, from crying for every petty reason I could find to being able to live all alone in different countries, to making food for my own self, paying utility, grocery bills at the times, making sure the rent is paid on time because I don't want to get kicked back out of my home for not paying rent. So too many responsibilities on my head, but eventually the feeling of living independently is what I truly cherish, and I would love if you guys would want to maybe just think about it as well. So this is how my journey began and completed, or I mean, it's just towards the next phase of my life. And this is now the key thing I've learned over a period of time is the concept of emotional intelligence. And this is why I'm here to talk to you guys about. And I'm quite not sure whether you guys noticed about the certain examples I've used in my sort of a period where I was traveling to different parts of the world. I've said few examples which completely blew my mind off. And until then, I had no idea what emotional intelligence is, what self-awareness is, or whatever it is. And since ever coming to Australia, I started reading a lot about it. And that's when I got a genuine interest in what emotional intelligence meant to me. So, I mean, just to give you a brief of what emotional intelligence is, I mean, to put it very simply, being aware of yourself. I mean, your emotions, how well you can manage your emotions, and how well are you able to channelize those emotions when you're talking to someone. What happens if I'm your friend and you're sitting right next to me? Are you able to cheer me up when I'm feeling low? Or are you able to calm yourself down when you're feeling very anxious, or are you in very stressful conditions? This essentially is what emotional intelligence is all about. So, in a nutshell, I try to, I mean, if you want to Google a lot of things about it, there's a lot of things which comes up in Google. But to put it very simply, this is how the definition works of emotional intelligence. Now, I mean, just to give you perspective, guys, just think for a minute. If I'm going to ask you 2 or 3 questions, just think of it and probably just keep in your mind. I'm going to continue with the conversation anyways. Have you guys ever thought why you bullying someone, or why are you being bullied by someone, or why you're part of any toxic relationship or any toxic friendship which is making you lose your self-confidence? I mean, things like this we don't really think when we are kids or when we're in the age of 9 or 10, right? We just take it as in a very fun perspective. Oh, okay, he's getting bullied, let's go have some fun along with them. But have you ever thought the logical or the rational reason behind it? I mean, just giving you a minute to think whether this is appropriate or not. Um, okay, so I hope most of you have an answer by now, and I'm pretty sure you're listening to all of this. I don't want to, just make it very boring, but yes. So, I mean, the answer to this is, as a kid, I never also thought about why emotional intelligence is important. Why? I mean, I never thought of these questions because I can't blame anyone around me or my surroundings, right? But it's very important to think. It's very crucial to think about all of this at this given point of time. The reason why we don't think is because of our lack of ability to think emotionally. Like when I say emotional intelligence, most of you might perceive it as, oh, if you're too emotional, if you're able to freely express your emotions, that means you're a very high emotionally intelligent person. But that's not the case in here. Being emotional is good. It means you can freely express your emotions out, like I did when I used to cry a lot or whatever. But I never knew how to channelize them in a right or an appropriate way. Similarly, emotional intelligence is completely different. Emotional intelligence is where you think about your emotions, you think of ways to channelize those emotions when you just make very simple judgment decisions, when you just talk to your friend, when you empathize with your friends. That's what essentially is the difference between being emotional and being emotionally intelligent. So, talking about like the first few steps of what emotional intelligence is, they essentially are 4 parameters to what emotional intelligence is all about. The very first step in here is being self-aware. If knowing yourself to the best, like you can't, I mean, if you don't know yourself well, you might not turn out to be someone who's very confident in his own workings or in his own beliefs. It's just going to ruin everything up. I mean, to share a very personal example, what happened to me, as I said, when I first moved to Hyderabad, I was trying to fit in with almost.
We can't hear Manas. Shankusri, please take care.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes, we can.
Also, the thing says it's going to end in like 4 minutes. Is it okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, so I was on the 4 essential pillars of what emotional intelligence is. I can't talk highly about the importance of emotional intelligence, and I would encourage all of you to just make notes about 4 aspects which I'm going to talk to you guys about. Just research it. Trust me, it's going to change the way you think. Trust me, it will want you to push yourselves out of the bubble we all live in, and it's just going to change the trajectory of what you have for your career mindset. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is self-aware, how to be self-aware, or being just self-aware of the things we're doing around. I mean, how much you guys think about the emotions you have in yourself? Do we ever think of those? I don't think so. Because when I was a kid, everyone expected me to get good grades. Everyone expected me to, be best in whatever I'm doing. pursue various extracurricular activities or anything. But no one ever thought of the fact that, oh, whether he's the person who could channelize his emotion well, right? I mean, back home, back in India, the concept of emotional intelligence is not very spoken about. People don't. It's still considered as taboo when someone thinks about their own emotions or something. But I'm not even kidding. When it comes, emotional intelligence is so important. When you go outside of India, when you look for career perspectives or something, I had to give an emotional intelligence test when I joined AMP. They wanted my EQ to be higher than IQ. That was one of the biggest criteria in me getting selected for AMP Capital. So it's so much in concept now, and so much in talks now in countries like all the developed countries, that it's going to give us added advantage when we just go out, be ready to enter the actual job market or the actual practical world. So the thing about self-awareness is to be aware of what you're doing, be aware of your surroundings, be confident in whatever you're telling. What happens if you're going tomorrow to a presentation and I'll be like, okay guys, I'm not sure. I mean, if I keep on nodding, if I keep on, just seeing here and there, no one's going to listen to me. What if I'm just going to look at the screen right in front of you, be confident in whatever I'm saying, it's going to make the impact, right? It's so important as a soft skill. If you're confident enough, you're self-aware of what you're doing, it's just going to change the perspective you have towards anything which is in your mind. So this is why self-awareness is important. And the second concept of emotional intelligence is social awareness. I mean, this is a very funny story I want to share with you guys. So, this company called as Tide and Surf Excel, right? The ones which we use for our dishwash, for our washing machine, like the detergent bars and powders. So they came up with this excellent marketing idea where they came up with a marketing billboard divided into three parts. First part, a very dirty cloth. Second part of the image was a washing machine with a Tide photo on it. You put the cloth into it, and the third part, a white, clean, neat white t-shirt comes up to it. That essentially was the billboard. They made it across all over the world, and it was such a huge success. They made skyrocketing profits out of that one marketing campaign. But again, in Middle Eastern, they had to make a public apology. The company had to shut down, and all their profits literally plummeted to zero. We never thought of why. But the reason is, I'm not sure most of you know, but people in Middle East or Middle Eastern part of our world read from right to left, not from left to right. So what they actually pursued was a very white shirt or a very neat shirt put into that washing machine along with the detergent comes out to be a very dirty. Imagine how big of a blunder it is, right? I mean, imagine if you're on that level, how many it would have completely blown your mind off, and you would have taken aback. Your company lost what the market holdings it had back then, right? So if you're not socially aware of your things, of your own culture, of the people around you, because of COVID, all the boundaries are virtually zero, right? I mean, I work with my team in Australia, in US, in India, and Vietnam with almost no boundaries. We host a Zoom call, we talk about it, that's it. But it's so important to know things which are very important to them versus things which do actually matter to them and things which they don't take offense on. So
Yeah.
Can you read the thing on the slide up here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, since I've spoken a lot about why emotional intelligence is important, I'm pretty sure all of you need some sort of factual evidence which backs up what I'm saying, right? Like, obviously, if I was there, I would have questioned everything which anyone would have told me. So these are the few facts which are very crucial, and this is why you would at least think to go and research or Google it, why emotional intelligence is so important in today's world which is out there. Okay, so I'm going to speak, you're more than, just go through all the factual evidences which are written in here. So yeah, so where I was on the topic of the Surf Excel guide thing.
Social awareness, yeah.
Social awareness, yeah. So imagine how big of a blunder it is, right? Like a company which is well known throughout the world, a company which is such a strong brand recognition, just made a huge blunder. The entire Middle Eastern region, their sales plummeted to zero. They had to make a public apology as to, okay, guys, we need to work on it again. They came up with a new marketing campaign, and that's how everything went, right? So if you're not socially aware, it's just gonna, so all of you aspire to go outside of the world, live with different sorts of cultures and people. But if you're not open to what they're speaking or what they're telling, it's just gonna ruin everything. Another example is of, okay, so Barbie as a company, as a kid, most of the girls or the females of your family used to play with Barbie dolls, right? So in Middle Eastern, again, so when we talk about social awareness, Middle East region is a region which always pops out because it's so much different culturally from what the other parts of the world are. So so when people in Middle Eastern, most of them, all the females there wear a thing called as burqa. They're not allowed to come out of the home with like just naked face or anything. So Barbie actually being the company, the Mattel Toys is the name of the company, being so culturally aware and so culturally sensitive, they actually made Barbie dolls which has burqa on it. So I mean, it's like similar to what you can see as a Barbie dolls, but they'll be wearing sort of burqa on their face. That is a perfect example of how you can be socially aware of your surroundings, of the things which are right next to you. So this is again very important. I can't stress on this fact enough that if you're aspiring to go out of your own hometown, or not just hometown, if you're going to leave the country real soon, you need to try and understand the importance of being socially aware. The third aspect is called as empathy. I mean, this is the most favorite concept of mine. I can't tell you guys to practice that enough because this is essentially what is going to change your perspective of how you think around, like for the people around you. I loved this concept of empathy when I was in Dubai, and I loved this concept so much that I actually took a full-time course on what empathy means. I mean, it's too overwhelming for you guys what empathy is. It's in simple words, if I tell you, it's just to put yourselves under my shoes. Or someone of you might be thinking, oh, again on Sunday, this guy came and ruined my Sunday. But have you ever thought the reason why I'm here, and that to why I'm here on a Sunday? Most of you don't. And this is where we as an individual's perspective, it's so important to understand why someone's yelling at you, why someone is just behaving in the way he is or she is, why your parents are not agreeing to what you say, why your teachers or professors are not happy with what you're working on, right? There's so many things. The usual thing which comes to our mind is, oh, okay, he's going to say in this way only, just leave it and go ahead with your life. But we never try to empathize, right? So this is the concept of empathy. You guys need to learn this a lot because, okay, I'll share with you all a very personal and private example. I obviously can't name names because he's one of the colleagues which works with so many emotions, and I've always felt, oh wait, I don't think I'm supposed to feel in this way, right? Most of you guys might do this as well, but it's so crucial and important to understand why you're feeling in a certain way. If you need to note down the things which gives you, oh, I'm so excited thinking of this thing, or things which give you stress or anxiety. Exams might be another thing. It's a complete different ballgame, but on a personal level. So being able to understand your own emotions, trying to comprehend what you mean when the emotion happens, when that sort of emotional triggers in your mind, how are you coping up? One of the second best thing you can do. Third is understanding what motivates you. I mean, it's so simple. What I do is I follow this 5-second rule. Whenever I feel low, I have a book which has like, I've divided the book into two halves. One is where I write about the things which I feel very low about, and things which gives me motivation. As soon as I start thinking about something which is eventually going to get me back into stress or anxiety, I start about thinking those things which gives me happiness or which gives me that sort of confidence boosting thing. And that's how. So I count 5, 4, cut to, as soon as I'm thinking something bad, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I start thinking about something which motivates me. That instant emotional change is what's going to make you stronger, because you can't afford to lose time when you're in a professional environment. And that is why you need to start practicing this at this very age. And fourth one is trying to be approachable and having a perspective. Guys, it's cool to have a lot of friends. It's cool not to have friends. It's your personal choice. But in general, you need to be a person. I mean, being introvert is sort of a thing which most of the people agree to, but I don't think that works in real life. If you're introvert, it's fine, but you need to be approachable. When someone walks up to you, I mean, it's the simple thing. If you're standing like this, folding your hands or like this, no one's gonna come talk to you. But if you're standing like this with your hands straight or just, smiling, welcoming people, people are gonna come and approach you. And that is so important because, as I said, relationship building, networking. If you're not gonna talk to people, if you don't have a perspective of your own, it's just gonna like ruin everything. So having a perspective, being very approachable in your approach is one of the other key things. And last is being optimistic. Guys, this is also very crucial because if you don't have a future goal in your mind, you're not gonna work hard for it. Every night before sleeping, I think of something which I want to do tomorrow, so that it motivates me to, wake up early in the morning. Oh, I have to go for a walk. It can be a very small thing. Oh, I'm gonna go out for a run for like next 10 minutes. It's gonna be a very minute thing, but it's just that small things you do in your life that's gonna make you more optimistic. It can be anything. Oh, you can say, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go to US tomorrow. Probably you can't, but just the thought of, then you start researching about, oh, are there any ways to go to US at this given point of situation? Are there any ways I can go there? Is there any options to study there, work there? So it's just that small trigger, which it's going to be life changing for you. So just think about this. These are my 5 personal favorite steps as to how I practice emotional intelligence. And lastly, this is the last slide I have. And all I want to say is it's okay not to be okay. We tend to ignore emotional health at all given point of times. As a kid, we can't blame anyone, but we've never thought the importance of what emotional intelligence is, or what being okay is. It's all right to be sad. It's all right to let your emotions out, but you need to speak up to anyone about it. You just can't be thinking, oh, am I not supposed to feel this way? Am I not supposed to behave in certain way, which I am? That's the worst thing you can do to your own individual personality. You need to step up, speak to people about it, try to understand the way why you're feeling. If you're feeling sad, try to question, oh, why am I feeling sad? So these are the few little things. It's okay not to be okay. And we usually tend to not take mental health seriously, but that's something which is very important. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to end my conversation with. Plus, I hope I have not bored you guys. I probably might have touched at least one of you, because this is very crucial, guys. Like, had I known about this, I can't stress on this enough. But had I known about this earlier, the trajectory of my career would have been different. It's so important. I would so want you guys to just go Google about it, research about it, because these are the soft skills which are going to enhance your career. Being intelligent is a good thing, but if you're not good in your soft skills, or you're not good emotionally, no one's going to hire you. As I showed you on the facts as well, you need to be, like, for me, this was a mandatory requirement to be high emotionally intelligent person compared to an intelligent quotient. So just stress on this, take mental health seriously. You need to understand, channelize and control your emotions, and speak up to anyone you want to. Plus, I'm always available for you guys. I'm always available on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. Just drop me a text, a message, hi, and I'm more than happy to talk, because this is a very brief version of what I wanted to say. But if you wanted to know something in more detail or in particular, just drop me a text. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. That's it from my side. I hope it was fruitful for you guys too.
Thank you,
open
Manas.
to questions. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Manas. That was very, very helpful, I think.
Thank you so much.
Students, if you have followed what Manas has given, please raise your hands. Would like to see how much you have followed. Yeah. Did it relate?
Thinking about things which you're strong enough. If you love cooking, go be a chef. If you love one more thing, guys, we usually hate talking about occupations which are not highly regarded in India. Let's say if it's all right if you want to become a plumber too. I don't know why it's big of a taboo in India. When it comes to Australia, like my personal example, I had a guy who came to repair some sort of a washroom issue. He took $90 for 20 minutes, which is close to 5,000 rupees for 20 minutes. And then I was so shocked. I'm like, $90 for 20 minutes? I'll have to just search about whether he's going to quote me correct or not. I lately found out that this thing is so important. I mean, they call it tradesmen, and they usually tend to earn higher than what a white collar job does. So don't think that, oh, this career is not good, this career is not good. Just follow your passion is what I would say. it's all right if you're not following the herd. It's all right if you're not following under the peer pressure sort of a thing. But just be your own self. Be self-aware of your own emotions. Try to understand what you want to do. That's it. No one's gonna stop you. Trust me. And I was lucky my parents did. So I hope none of you do as well.
If you know your strength, you better capitalize on those things.
Yes,
like
that's
go in the which suits you, the profession which suits you.
yeah.
And I would like to know your work as remediation support officer. So I was wondering what it involves.
Yes. Okay. So remediation is a field which is very new. It started like 2 or 3 years ago only. So what happened in Australia and New Zealand as a region, where all the companies, all the big financial banks gave wrong sort of advice to their clients, where which eventually all the clients lost millions of dollars in their accounts for the mistake they haven't done. So there's this concept of financial advisors and financial management, where someone else will handle your finances. And that's how most of the advisors back then went unchecked, and like the clients ended up losing like $1,000 to $1,000,000 individually. And that's when a commission called as Royal Commission of Banking was set up in Australia. It went on for 2 years to assess what's wrong. And then they came up with a detailed list where every client who lost the money because of the company's fault will need to be reimbursed. So this is essentially very ethics. So ethics and morals are something which is very important to Australian culture. And just being so ethically and morally strong, they've decided to reimburse each and every client, even if it's $1, even if it's $1,000,000, back their money. So my work essentially is to take, so let's say you're my client, I take your file, I see your investments, I see your finances, I see what could have went wrong. So ideally one client takes around like a week to solve the case. So I've reimbursed clients like from $50 just to $800,000 was my highest. So it depends on client to client, but this is something you guys would really start to think about, because this is very growing field. Now, because of Australia, it is started into the US as well, where this is gonna go in like next year or something. So if you want to think of a career option, this might be one of the new thing which comes up into the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool, Manas. So you have shared with us your school days and then your college days also.
Yeah.
Are you in touch with your friends?
Yes. So we have this WhatsApp group. Yeah, the school friends. So, okay, one thing is that you can't take your school friends out of your heart. The memories in your school is something that's going to stay with you forever. So I would highly suggest you all to be in touch with your school friends. And it's so good. Like, we don't talk very often, but like once in a month or something, we all come up on this Zoom call, just talk about, reminisce the stuff which we did when we were young. That's it. So it's so good to, be back to our roots. That's one thing I really love.
Yeah. And one more thing is, what is your advice to students regarding social media and screen time?
Yes. Okay. This is very.
They are always at loggerheads with their parents. Parents say no, it's not.
Oh, yes.
As a youngster, you can give better advice.
Yeah. Okay. So my mom and I had this issue always. So my mom was like, stop using Facebook, Instagram. Back then, I never realized it. But when I started working, I had to be in front of my laptop for 8 hours straight. And by the end of the day, my head used to hurt so badly. I mean, I couldn't even focus. So that's when, again, I said emotional well-being is taken very seriously in Australia. So our company started up a campaign where you can't have more than 6 hours of screen time in a day, which includes your phone as well. So they track everything, our phones and our laptops. So it's so good. So, I mean, that's something which I'm easily being able to cope up with. But my advice to you guys is stop using phones, guys. Trust me, it's going to give you such a bad eyesight. And anyone who is aspiring to become a pilot, it's going to ruin your dream right now. So that's one thing which is very crucial. Apart from what you're learning at school, just focus on that. Go out for a walk. Just see as much as greenery as possible. I'm fortunate enough to live very close to where forest is. So I usually go out for a walk or a bicycle ride. So it's good. I highly suggest you guys to just go take a walk up on your screen. It's going to be very impactful.
Okay. You didn't say anything about social media.
Oh, social media. Okay. As I said, I mean, as a kid, I was addicted to Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat per se. I'm only on Instagram, so I have accounts everywhere, but I rarely use them because there's so much of cyberbullying happening. There's so much of cyber attacks happening. You have no idea. Facebook can steal all your information from your phone, even without your notice. All your credit card details, whatever you're searching on the internet, your personal WhatsApp chats. It's so important. I mean, it's so bad to think when all of this happens because there's one show on Netflix called as Wise. If you look at those, you'll truly understand the importance of why a kid or why a family should never use social media. It's okay to have WhatsApp because we usually don't tend to, like it's a good way to touch with our friends or family, but using too much of social media is going to ruin your life because, okay, this happened to me when I was in an interview. They literally checked my Instagram profile, my Facebook profile before giving me a job. So had I posted something which wouldn't have come across to their own values, I wouldn't have gotten a job back then. So just make sure everything you do is being watched by someone else. So make sure if you comment on something, make sure if you're doing anything, it's just going to get impacted later on in your life. So that's one thing which is very crucial.
Yeah, that's a good advice, Manas. Yeah, I'm sure the students have many takeaways today. Thank you, Manas. Thank you for your time. Yeah, you immediately agreed. Very much thankful to you. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm thankful for giving me this opportunity, and I so want to touch any of these guys. As I said, please get in touch with me if you have any other questions. I'm more than happy to help you guys. Just be aware, try and research on this. It's just going to change your life. Trust me when I say this.
What is your Facebook ID?
It's under my name, Manas Sarda. Instagram is also under my name, Manas Sarda. It's very easy to find. I'm like the only one with the name I have. So okay. It's easier, yeah. Yes,
thank you, Manas. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.